Business. We have Maggie Peterson with the Veteran Business Resource Center that's going to be presenting to us on resources for women veterans and military spouses. Maggie, I'm going to go ahead and give it to you and let you take it away.
Thanks, Mary. And I want to start by thanking you for inviting me to come in and present today. For everyone, as Mary said, my name is Maggie Peterson, and I work for the Veterans Business Resource Center as the Accelerating Women Entrepreneurs Program Manager and Administrative Director. A little bit of background on me. I served a career in the Air Force, started out at Los Angeles Air Force Base, crisscrossed the country, and then I crisscrossed the world. One of the things I learned most in those years is that I really enjoy coaching and mentoring people, helping them achieve their dreams. After leaving the Air Force, I spent time working as a financial advisor, coaching people in helping them reach their financial goals. And then later I worked with a startup company trying to help at-risk populations find living wage employment or start new businesses. During that time I was also introduced to Darcella Craven here at the VBRC, and I started working for VBRC in March of 2017. So the next slide All right, I get the tech working in a moment. This is a brief overview and roadmap of what our plans are for today and where we plan on going. Again, this is just a basic overview of entrepreneurship with a focus on women and resources available for women. The VBRC mission is to train, mentor, and assist returning military, National Guard, and Reserve members and their family members, including spouses, children, and parents, to start and grow small businesses. If you're looking to start a small business, we can help you. If you have a business and you're looking for assistance in growing, we can help you. We serve a 4.5-state region: Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, and since we're headquartered in St. Louis, we also carve an area out of Illinois over by Scott Air Force Base that we assist. So let's start by taking a look at the big picture of business ownership and women in business. Right now, about 10% of businesses in the U.S. are veteran-owned, and of that number, about 15% are woman-owned. The majority of businesses in the U.S. are non-employer firms, and what that means is that the business only has one employee and that that employee is the owner. About 97% of all women veteran businesses are non-employer firms. They tend to have lower sales, which places limits on their growth possibilities. Between 2007 and 2012, though, women veteran-owned businesses grew by about 325%. So it's one of the fastest growing, but it also makes a little bit less than what their male-owned counterparts are making. At the same time, veteran women-owned businesses increased, the firms with employees increased by about 27%, and about 42% of those had been in business for less than 5 years. On the next slide, we'll take a look at how this looks from the perspective of various industries. So as you can see, most veteran women-owned businesses are in the healthcare and social assistance industries. About 33% of the businesses are in this industry. These include ambulatory healthcare services, nursing, residential care, and other social assistance services. The second largest industry for veteran women-owned businesses are the professional services. And those are most notable. Those services include the IT consulting, management consulting, legal services, accounting and bookkeeping services, engineering, and research and development. Retail ranks as the third largest industry for women-owned businesses. And the graph shows you a couple of others and how they break down. So now that we've got a little bit of a background about businesses and women-owned businesses, let's start talking. Let me address the first question people usually ask when they come see me, and that's how do I get funding for my business? This current slide lists options of and areas where people are able to get financing for their business. I'll cover the most common of those above, and it's important that you understand if you want to seek funding outside of your personal resources, you need to remember that outside investors or bankers want to see that you have skin in the game, meaning they want to see that you do have something personally to invest in your business. To take a moment to recognize creativity and drive of women, veteran women business owners are generally able to start their enterprises with about half as much capital as most of their male counterparts. On the next slide, we'll go ahead and take a look at where the funding comes from. But before we talk about personal funds, I want to mention I will talk about the options you have available to you. These are not my specific recommendations for your situation. Some of them I actually would prefer to stay away from. I do want you to know what options are available, and you'll want to work with a financial advisor and an accountant on what options are best for you. So let's talk about where most businesses get their funding from. And about half of all businesses start with $25,000 or less, and about 34% are able to start with less than $5,000. That 34% goes up to 40% for veteran women-owned businesses. So it's not really a surprise to see that about 95% of all startup funding comes from personal savings and family and friends. About 30% of all veteran women-owned businesses are able to start without outside funding. One of the things I will mention is that personal savings and credit includes the credit cards in personal funding. So let's talk a little bit more about personal funds. Depending on how much cash you need and how much you have, you may find that using personal funds is the best option for you. If your business doesn't require producing a product or hiring employees, renting an office, you may be able to get along without much in the way of financing. But your business is going to need some form of sales or marketing, which means advertising and spending money. This means you'll need to go into your savings account or another source of capital, take out a second mortgage or home equity loan. Maybe it's a personal loan, or maybe you're just lucky you've got that jar of coins in your backyard that you can dig up. To take a moment to talk about the personal savings account, it's often the first method used of funding a startup. However, you'll want to remember to keep your personal accounts separate from your business accounts, and I don't recommend using all of your personal savings for your business if possible. You should always strive to retain an amount available for you for emergencies. A home equity loan is often seen as a low-risk, relatively simple way to secure funding for your business. The bank doesn't really care what you are using the money for, and you'll be financing the business yourself. Often having a larger financial investment in the business personally will also have more weight when you're trying to get a business loan. Personal loans and credit cards are another possible source of funding. If you're using a personal loan, make sure your bank knows that you plan to use it for business. If you use credit cards, make sure you check the interest rates, annual fees, and late fees, as these expenses can add up pretty quickly if you aren't managing them. Another option to obtain financing is to use personal investment and retirement accounts. Depending on the type of account and other considerations, you may sell part of those investments or use them as collateral for a loan. If you borrow from your 401k or retirement account, make sure you're working with the lender to ensure you abide by repayment conditions. For example, if your current employer offers you the loan, they may require it be repaid before you leave employment with them. If you have over $50,000 in your retirement account, you may be eligible for a program called a Rollover for Business Startups, or ROBS plan. You'll want to consult with financial services professionals to ensure that this is done correctly. The advantages of using ROBS include a lack of penalties and taxes for early withdrawal, and future profits may grow in tax-advantaged retirement account. There are some restrictions. The first is that there's a $50,000 minimum account requirement, and you'll be risking your retirement account. You will be required to be a full-time employee of the company, or sometimes the IRS can come in and do audits. Another option that generally falls under personal abilities is called bootstrapping. And this is finding ways to avoid the need for external financing or funding through being creative, thrifty, and other cost-cutting means. It's the most common source of startup funding. It works best in service industries where startup costs are low and monthly expenses are low. Some of the things you may do are look into leasing equipment rather than buying it, or buying used equipment instead of new. You may also want to share office space with other businesses. Here in St. Louis and many other cities have business incubators, which are organizations that have come together to provide office space, and they often include conference rooms, break spaces, utilities, internet, and things like that as part of their rent fee. One option you also have here is you might ask your customers to prepay for your services up front or to offer you a deposit. And cash is king, and if they're paying you ahead of time, then you have the money to spend to provide that service for them. And another option that's often available here is vendor financing. I believe about a year ago when I was talking with Square, for clients who had accounts with them where they could see the cash flow, they would often be able to offer small loans to businesses based on the amount of cash flow. And since they could see what it was, they could make an offer that was based on what they felt was low risk and reasonable. Another option for financing your business is crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is a newer form of finances and still in its early stage. Regulations for crowdfunding and equity are still being solidified by the SEC, and regulations are still changing, developing. So at this point, crowdfunding has been more project-based on platforms like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and we'll take a look at a couple of those different organizations in a moment. Remember that each platform has a different set of expectations, and you'll want to research each platform and evaluate it against your needs. So let's go ahead and take a look at what those different platforms are. Kickstarter is an American company based out of New York with a focus on providing global crowdfunding focused on creativity and merchandising. The company works to help bring creative projects to life, and their support includes things like film, music, stage shows, comics and journalism, technology, and food-related projects. People who back Kickstarter projects offer tangible rewards or experiences in exchange for their pledges. Kickstarter is one of a number of platforms, and its project creator choose deadlines and minimum funding goals. If the goal is not met by the deadline, no funds are collected. Kickstarter typically applies about a 5% fee on the total amount of the funds raised, and then their payment processor also generally applies an additional fee from there. Kickstarter also warns project leaders that they could be liable for legal damages, so that many times projects that do succeed in getting the startup funds they're looking for still fail because they underestimate the total required costs or even technical difficulties that they face later on. Indiegogo is another crowdfunding site founded in 2008. It allows people to solicit funds for an idea, charity, or startup business. Like Kickstarter, they tend to charge about a 5% fee on contributions in addition to credit card processing fees. Campaigns that fail to raise their target amounts, users have the option of either refunding all of the money to their contributors at no charge or keeping the money raised minus a fee to Indiegogo. The site runs on a rewards-based system, meaning donors, investors, and customers are willing to help fund a project and can donate or receive a gift rather than an equity stake in the company, meaning that they're part owners. Users can create a page for their funding campaign, make a list of perks for different levels of investment, and then create your social media-based publicity efforts for that. And like Kickstarter, Indiegogo does not stand behind companies that do their fundraising through them once those campaigns have been funded. GoFundMe is another platform that is for-profit based, and it has a slightly different focus where it allows people to raise money for events ranging from celebrations and graduations to challenging circumstances like accidents and illnesses. They are unique to crowdfunding in that they are not incentive-based crowdfunding, although it does allow projects and are meant to fund other projects for musicians and inventors. The business model is set up to allow for donations to personal causes and life events, such as medical bills. Beta Brands is another crowdfunding source that focuses on retail clothing. The company designs, manufactures, and releases new products in limited quantities. A feature of the production is the turnaround from initial design to sellable article, which can be a short 4 to 8 weeks versus some of the longer time frames that are often taken. AngelList is a website that matches job seekers, startups, and angel investors. It started as an online introduction board for tech startups that needed seed funding. And since 2015, the site allows startups to raise money from angel investors free of charge. Business Insider has dubbed AngelList as the Match.com for investors and startups. OneVest is an investment site for startups where entrepreneurs are able to raise capital from accredited investors. They provide services for co-founder matchmaking. So if you're looking for someone to co-found your business with you, OneVest may be able to assist you with that. The Co-Founders Lab is one of the largest matchmaking services for entrepreneurs, and their goal is to help entrepreneurs create strong businesses, especially when they don't have those connections already. And CircleUp is a financial technology company focusing on consumer goods startups. So the company launched in 2012 as a platform for entrepreneurs to raise capital and find companies to fund that were not part of the tech industry. So this is more retail rather than tech focused. In October of 2017, the company also launched an investment fund, CircleUp Growth Partners, dedicated to early stage consumer companies. So now we've talked a little bit about what you can do personally through your own funds, bootstrapping, and crowdfunding. Let's go ahead and take a look at bank loans. When you do need a loan, it will help if you already have a relationship with a banker. It will also help if you consider applying to more than one bank. Sometimes smaller regional banks are able to support smaller community businesses when larger national banks aren't willing or able to take the risk. And for any loan, you can expect to need 20 to 25% down. Keep in mind that your credit history and the credit history of any business partners you have will be reviewed and be part of the bank's decision on whether or not they can make that loan. Sometimes if you look at the different formats of businesses such as LLC, those forms try to provide some personal protection liability. However, keep in mind that banks often require personal assets that may not be protected by the LLC if it's used as collateral for the business loan. Banks often require business plans telling them what the business is, what are your operations plans, and your business financials. It's often difficult for startups to get bank loans because banks want to see the historical financial performance of the business. And if the business has had any financial hiccups in the last couple of years, the bank is really looking to see a plan on how you're going to address that to make the future more successful and to be able to grow. The SBA also has a couple of different loan programs that you might be able to take part of. One of them is called the 7A loan program, and your business needs to be small, considered a small business. Make sure you're looking that up on the SBA website because a lot of times small businesses are larger than you think. So if you're getting a little bit bigger and you need an extra loan with the SBA backing, go ahead and look into it. You might still be eligible. The program offers guarantees for loans up to $5 million for startup costs, buying equipment, purchasing or expanding businesses, and purchasing things like your machinery, furniture, supplies, and materials. Most 7A loans are term loans and are repaid with monthly payments of principal and interest. They have fixed rate loans, so payments stay the same, and because of that, the payments are also generally a little bit lower. The regular 7A loan program provides about 85% guarantee for loans of $150,000 or less, and 75% guarantee for larger loans. So keep in mind that the SBA is not actually providing the loan, but they're guaranteeing repayment of the loan to the bank. So it's still the bank providing the loan. The SBA just promises they'll cover if you default. Under the umbrella of the 7A loan is also the SBA Express loan. The advantage of the Express loan is the turnaround time. Completed applications generally receive a response within 36 hours. I've heard sometimes people go in and submit their application at lunch, and by the time the day ends, they have an answer. General loans will often take weeks or months to get an answer back on the loan. The SBA also has another program I haven't listed on this slide. It's listed later, but it's called the 504 Loan Program. And the 504 program is aimed at promoting growth and job creation, and it can be used for fixed assets, including buying existing building, land and land improvements, including things like your street, utilities, and parking lot, construction of new facilities, and renovating or converting existing facilities. Keep in mind that when the SBA looks at these 504 loans, it's for facilities for your business. It's not for you to buy a property, fix it up, and then sell it. Supporting the SBA's loan programs, they also have something called the 8A program. And when you listen to the 504, 7A, 8A, those are all based on the regulations that were passed that put these programs into place. So the 8A program tries to help provide a more level playing field for small businesses, especially those owned by socially or economically disadvantaged people or entities. And it focuses on helping businesses gain contracts with the government. They can compete for set-aside and sole source contracts. They also get a business opportunity specialist that will help provide that one-on-one guidance for you as you seek to win those contracts. It allows you to form joint ventures with established businesses through a mentor-protege program. And they provide a lot of management and technical assistance, including training and counseling, as you continue to go through the program. There are several eligibility requirements to participate in the 8A program. You need to be a small business. You can't have participated in the 8A program in the past. You must be at least 51% owned and controlled by U.S. citizens who are economically and socially disadvantaged, and a net worth with $250,000 or less. The owner must be the day-to-day operations manager and must also be responsible for making long-term decisions of the business. The business must be able to show potential for success and able to perform and complete the contracts. In addition to SBA loans, the USDA offers some loan programs, and they're very similar to the SBA's 7A program with the same restrictions, same eligibility requirements, but it's also limited to rural areas, which are defined as any area other than a city or town with a population of greater than 50,000 inhabitants. The borrower's headquarters may be based in a larger city as long as the project the loan is financing is located in the eligible rural area. If you go out to the USDA's website, they will have links, and you can put in an address of where you want to locate your business or that project location, and they will tell you whether or not it qualifies as that rural area. Keep in mind that that 50,000 areas that you think might not be rural will actually qualify as rural for the USDA. So you'll want to go out and check that. And then Missouri has recently passed a bill called the HB 1503, which will provide state-backed guarantee loans for lenders of veteran-owned businesses. And this is specifically focused on veteran-owned businesses. It's not available to everyone. And unfortunately, one of the things that we've noticed is that it does not include spouses. So we've suggested they add spouses to that, but right now it's only for the veteran themselves. They will require a training program like Boots to Business or something similar. And then after you receive the loan, they'll have 1 year of required business mentorship where you have to meet with a specified coach at least once every 90 days. A lot of the details are still being worked out by what this means. So you'll want to pay attention if you're in Missouri and see how those work out. There are a lot of other sources of funding. I don't know how many people here are in Missouri. A lot of these are not only Missouri but St. Louis based. Justine Peterson is one organization here in St. Louis that offers microloans. So if you're looking for a loan but what the amount you need is small enough that most banks aren't interested in pursuing that loan with you, Justine Peterson might be the place to go to for microloans. Just as with all loans, make sure you're looking at the information, the repayment requirements, the interest rates, and things like that, and make sure that this is the right loan for you. Street Shares, coming down a couple, is another one I'll mention. And Street Shares focuses on providing loans and grants, other forms of business startups to veteran-owned businesses. If you just Google Street Shares, it will take you to their website. One of the ways they receive their funding is that they go out and people can loan money, buy bonds from Street Shares, and the proceeds of those bonds are used to provide the loans for the veteran-owned businesses. On this slide, I talk about the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership and loans that are available with those. What you really want to take away if you're not in the St. Louis area is go out and look at your economic development partners, your chambers of commerce, and plug into those locations, because those are the areas where you're going to find that economic support and that business development support that you'll need in your startup phase. So now that we've really talked about sources of funding, I'm going to take a break for a moment and see if there's any questions about the funding sources.
Maggie, this is Mary. I'd like to point out that Justine Peterson is what's called a CDFI, a Community Development Financial Institution. They do cover Missouri statewide. And then if you are not in the state of Missouri, you can go to Opportunity Finance Network, and they actually have a CDFI locator. One of the really unique things that CDFIs do, in addition to the microloan programs and working with startups and a lot of home-based businesses, which typically are very difficult to find funding for, they also work with people with low credit. So if you or someone else you know has issues with credit, I've heard of Justine Peterson working with people down into the 300 and 400 credit range to get them started with loans. Not only getting them with the loans, but they have credit building programs that you can coordinate with them to actually get back on. And I'm going to talk about credit here in a little bit more, but I wanted to point that out because you brought up Justine Peterson, just how important those kind of programs are for funding unique businesses such as yours probably.
Right. I know another VBOC, and I'll talk about the VBOCs in a moment, but another one of our sister organizations is in Wisconsin where they offer similar type microloans and have a program very similar to Justine Peterson's. So if you're not in Missouri, if you're not in the St. Louis area, You can always contact Mary or I afterwards, and we can try and get you in touch with someone in your area that can provide the support or let you know, give you other directions that you can go to. So now that we've taken a look at funding sources, there's a lot of other free resources and assistance available to you. Yes, you can go out and you can pay for these services, but for the veteran community, there's so much support for veterans that a lot of resources are available free of charge. And it starts with the Office of Veterans Business Development, which is one of the departments in the SBA. They offer a number of programs, including the VBOX, and the Veterans Business Resource Center is a VBOX for the SBA and OVBD. We go to all of the active duty bases and offer the Boots to Business workshop, which is that 2-day entrepreneurship introduction to 101 class. And then we work with our SBA offices and districts to provide that same workshop in a 1-day format called a reboot off base, so that people that cannot get to bases have the ability to attend that as well. One of the programs I'll spend a little bit of time talking about here is the Veteran Women Igniting the Spirit of Entrepreneurship, VWISE, and it works with one of our resource partners, Cornell University, where they provide specialized training for women entrepreneurs themselves. Again, we also have counseling, and I've added a couple of the links to the websites for you. Let's take a look at one of the resource partners that OVBD supports and provides for, and those are the VBOX. Now, the VBOC is a one-stop shop for transitioning service members, your veterans, your military families. There's 22 VBOCs nationwide providing this transition assistance. And again, they provide the Boots to Business and the Reboot, as well as providing other trainings like series of webinars, counseling, mentoring, and most importantly, we're plugged into the communities. So if you need a referral to another resource partner or another support agency, we're probably familiar with who those support agencies are to be able to give you that referral. Another organization that is available are the Small Business Development Centers, and they provide assistance to small businesses throughout the United States. SBDCs help entrepreneurs try and really focus and build that dream of business ownership, and then help existing businesses to remain competitive in a very changing environment. SBDCs are hosted by universities and state economic development agencies, and again, they're also a resource partner with the SBA, which means the SBA provides funding support for them. Their advisors provide business owners with a variety of free business consulting and low-cost training services, especially focusing on business plan development, but also manufacturing assistance, financial packaging, and loan assistance, and helping research the 8A program and whether or not that program may be one that you can use in your business. Working with the SBDCs is also an organization called SCORE. SCORE stands for Service Corps of Retired Executive, and these are men and women who have served in business, been in significant positions of influence and business development, and now they've reached a point in life, sometimes in retirement, sometimes prior to retirement, where they say, I have the ability to give back. So they come out to aspiring entrepreneurs, people who want to start their business or they need help growing their business. And again, they also provide mentoring and workshops. Here in the St. Louis area, the Bi-State chapter has a very large selection of workshops that people can go to. About 2 Mondays every month and 1 Saturday every month, there's a selection that changes that you might wish to go to. And then the SCORE.org homepage has their learning site where they have a wide variety of blogs, webinars, on-demand recordings where you can go out and learn about various business topics when it better suits your schedule, when you have more time. Another organization specifically focused on women are the Women's Business Development Centers. And the links I include will take you to several organizations that are part of the Women's Business Development Network and are specifically focused on helping women grow their businesses. So the WBCs are a national network with about 100 educational centers throughout the states. And what they do is they seek to level the playing field for women entrepreneurs who, as we talked about earlier, are still facing some unique obstacles in business. Their mission statement is to enable and empower women entrepreneurs through advocacy, outreach, education, and support. So they can be a very valuable resource to turn to as well. There are also a number of other resources available. Let me take a moment to talk about the PTACs. There's about 94 PTACs and over 300 local offices in their nationwide network. And they're dedicated to helping local businesses compete successfully in the government arena and marketplace. They work to be the bridge between the buyer and supplier to bring knowledge of government contracting and capabilities of contractors to help create reliable service between the government and the businesses. In 2017, PTAC served over 48,000 clients and helped them win over $20 billion in government contracts. Your local economic development centers, I talked about a little bit on the earlier slide. Again, look for those because they often have libraries available to you, coaches, knowledge of other programs in your local area. One resource that's often overlooked are your libraries, the St. Louis library system, the county library system, and the systems elsewhere. They often have research specialists who can help you do some of the research you need for your business, and they're free of charge. These are people who've been trained to learn how to use the library resources to do the research, so they're often very quick at being able to find information for you and helping you learn how to use those. And then we've talked a lot about the SBA today. Their website is sba.gov, and like SCORE, they have a large variety of training webinars available out there that you can go out and download at your convenience. One of the things I like, in addition to the SBA webinars, is that they provide the transcripts. So if you're someone who does better reading instead of watching, or it really helps cement it if you're reading and watching the video at the same time, you have that option with the SBA training modules. A couple of minutes ago, I mentioned that the VBOCs go out and provide Boots to Business training at bases and reboots in the community. After someone has been able to attend a Boots to Business or a reboot, there are two organizations that provide free follow-on training courses. And the first of these is by Mississippi State University with their B2B Revenue Readiness course. And it's a 6-week online course where you're able to sign in, you talk over your computer with your classmates, with your instructors, and they're able to help you develop that business plan and your strategy for your business live and live. And then after you've completed that course, they make sure you're connected with resources available in your area so that you can continue receiving that coaching and support. The second follow-on course is from IVMF at Syracuse University. And IVMF originally provided the Boots to Business curriculum. Their focus on helping veterans started with research that they did on how do veterans learn best. And they've created their workshop on the ways that veterans learn versus those in the general community. A lot of times that's a little bit more hands-on, but it's focused more on the type of training styles that are prevalent in the military. They have the 13 on-demand courses that you can take as your schedule permits. You don't have to sit down and take them all at once. And then they include the different areas of startups that you need, such as marketing and sales management, even your basic law that all business owners need to have an idea of. And I put the B2B portal out there where you can go out and look and sign up for their courses, but also you can receive more information if you just Google search IVMF. One of the programs that IVMF runs in addition to the Business Fundamental course is the VWISE program, or the Veteran Women Igniting the Spirit of Entrepreneurship. I'll let you read the statistics on the right side of the page that talk about the success the VWISE program helps bring to women entrepreneurs. I'll talk a little bit about their three-phased program. And Phase 1 of the VWISE program is a 15-day online learning experience that teaches veterans and participants the basic language of business and how to understand and recognize opportunities when it's there. And then they help you grow a sustainable venture. Phase 1, that 15-day online course, is a mandatory prerequisite to Phase 2, which is a 3-day training conference. And the conference includes more than 20 modules of training, over 40 hours of coursework that help new business owners but also current business owners. And topics include a variety of business concepts such as guerrilla marketing, human resources, and profit models. One thing about the Phase 2 program and that training conference, they have a $75 registration fee for the Phase 1, Phase 2 program. If you are selected as a participant for Phase 2, you do have to pay your own travel expenses to the conference, but they pay the other fees. They pay for meals, they pay for the hotel while you're there. All of the other expenses that usually come along with going to a conference like that, VWISE covers for the participants that go. And then they have their Phase 3 of their program, which is follow-on support, where they continue providing technical assistance to their participants. And then the services are available through protected websites. Again, if you go out to the VWISE website, just Google VWISE, there's a lot of information available. What they do in this program has helped a lot of people. We've had a couple of clients come through that have had wonderful things to say about how VWISE has helped that client develop their business idea. If you want to go out and look, IVMF also has a number of other programs in addition to VWISE. I just wanted to make sure I highlighted the VWISE program here today. There are also a number of other organizations available. Brazen Global is something of a relatively new organization where they're working. Their mission is to help women entrepreneurs boldly grow businesses. No apologies. What they do is they offer various seminars together with other groups of women business owners, so you're building that support community with each other. Balsa Foundation is another organization that's available, and I believe it's in the St. Louis region, but they have a roadmap, which is a free comprehensive guide to starting a business. And even if you aren't in the St. Louis area, that roadmap can be an extremely valuable resource and tool to have with you. So you can go out to the Balsa Foundation website and download it. You don't have to be in the St. Louis area to gain the benefit of that guide. And then they can provide grants, cash, and mentorship to help with business. On the slide, I've also included a number of organizations that can provide the women business certifications. One thing that I would mention to you about business certifications, whether it's the woman-owned business, the veteran-owned business, service-disabled veteran-owned business, take a look and plan out Create your business plan well enough to know what you want that certification to do for you. If you want to go into government contracting, you're going to need to go through the VA. If you're going to subcontract with another company other than the government or a state or local government, they may not recognize the VA certification. So think about who you want recognizing your certification and who provides the certification that that company recognizes. Again, the VA certifications are free, but these other certifications will all cost money. Make sure you find out which one is going to give you the most value for your goals. And then spend the money there. Don't spend it everywhere. And then there's a last few tools that I've picked up over the years to mention. Quick facts at census.gov. If you're looking especially where to locate a business and you want to know population trends, if you have a business that's dependent on people with discretionary cash to spend, where are those families located most likely? Census Business Builder helps with that as well, and the Census Business Builder will also help you figure out how much discretionary money people have in areas, along with where do families in those areas tend to spend the most money. Do they spend it on pets? Do they spend it on eating out? Things like that. The Census Business Builder can draw that picture for you. Other areas where you can get some business information, the Size Up tool helps small businesses with current high-quality market data. And then the Yahoo Industry Center provides information on industries and companies per industry and what is the most current news on those. And then BizStats provides industry benchmarks and other financial information for businesses. The Lean Business Model Canvas is a one-page business plan that is often a great early planning, pre-planning tool for a business. It helps you identify what is the problem you want to help solve for your customer, how are you going to help solve it, where are you going to earn your revenue, where are you going to earn your money from, and where are your expenses. It can help summarize it into a single page. Again, when you're just starting, it's a great initial brainstorming tool, but also if you need to develop a pitch to talk with investors or loan officers, being able to summarize it on that one page will help you develop that pitch. The Really Big Idea Value Sketchpad. This is really best if you know you want to go into business, but you're still figuring out, can I turn this idea into a business, or is this an idea I want to pursue? So this is a very early stage pre-planning where you're really still trying to identify what sort of business you want to start. Bplans.com offers a lot of free planning templates from SWOT analysis, pest analysis, marketing plans, business plans. They also have their own version of a one-page plan that can be very useful as you're trying to figure out what sort of documents you need for planning your business. One of the things that many business owners, one of the problems many business owners run into is they're so busy running the day-to-day operations of the business that they forget to step back from those operations and take a look at the long-term planning and strategic planning. When you do get that chance, bplans.com provides a lot of free tools that you can do that strategic planning with. And then they also have a paid subscription called LivePlan. And if you're working with a VBOC, we all have access to LivePlan and can share that with our clients free of charge. If you go out to LivePlan yourself, there will be a charge. They offer a lot of very useful things. And when you create that LivePlan business plan, it can download it into PowerPoint slides if you're creating a slide deck for an investor. You can also download it into Word, PowerPoint, and things like that to keep for your own records after you're no longer working in IBIS World or in LivePlan. And then another tool that we in the VBOX have available that we can share with you is IBIS World. And IBIS World provides business research, marketing information A lot of times I can go out there and get a feel for, is this industry growing? Is it shrinking? What are the challenges? How dependent is it on economic conditions, or is it going to be relatively stable regardless of other things going on in the economy? IBIS World goes out and updates those reports. They've got people constantly scanning, and they tend to update those reports as things change in an industry. So if it's a quick changing industry, they might update that report every quarter, every year. If it's a very slow changing industry, the reports might be a few years old at this point. But they do have those experts who are scanning to make sure that they've always got current up-to-date information available for you. I think that really covers all of the information I have. There's a lot of information here for you. Feel free to be able to follow up with me afterwards and ask questions. There's so much available, we can never cover everything all the time. With that being said, I think Mary also has some information that she wanted to be able to cover with you. Mary, I'm going to give the floor over to you.
Well, before you go on mute, Maggie, I have a couple of questions come through. Number one is, how do people get in contact with someone from your office? And you mentioned you were in St. Louis. Do you have someone that covers, like, say, I'm in Springfield or the rest of Missouri?
Our office is headquartered in St. Louis, but we cover the entire state of Missouri. We also cover Kansas, Iowa, Nebraska. If you want to work with a VBOC, we have a variety of tools available to work through the distance, the telephone, email. We have Skype and WebEx as well. So we've never had a problem being able to help a business owner from a distance. And again, travel is always possible. I'm headed to Kansas City next week. I'll be in Rolla and Arnold next week. So we tend to do some traveling and have the ability to travel as well. And how to get in contact with our office, I'll have Mary make sure she adds these when she sends out the slide. But you can email me at Peterson, Peterson, at vetbiz.com. And our phone number is also 314-531-8387.
Okay, thank you. And you guys, I will say before we even go into my slides, I've done a lot of presentations with a lot of partners, and I've done a lot of webinars, and very rarely do we have someone come on who is as well versed in the resources that are available as Maggie. So Maggie, I just seriously thank you so much for presenting that information today. If you think of more questions for Maggie as we go through, she'll still be here at the end of the presentation and can answer those at that time as well. But you really should reach out to her just so that you can tap into the free resources that she has available for sure. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just go through the slides here that I have available for you. You know, I don't know that we'll get to all of my slides today, but I really wanted to make sure that you got to hear Maggie present, because the resources that she is providing are specific to veterans and their family members and their spouses. So we wanted to make sure that you had those available. What I'm going to talk about is the more general information that you can access no matter who you are, no matter what stage of business you're in. And so we're going to talk just briefly about access to capital, just a few additional sources that Maggie, I don't know that she covered all of them. There may be one that I'm just wanting to expound on. But first, just telling you who we are. So I work for a nonprofit called Small Business Majority. We are national. I'm based in Springfield, Missouri, and we also have someone in St. Louis, Missouri that works closely with VetBiz. We work with a large variety of organizations. Our goal is to provide outreach to small business owners, and to provide education, and then to connect you to your resources so that you can grow. We don't provide a lot of direct services at Small Business Majority. So our role is really to make sure you know who does. and how they can help you. So we often act as that conduit. We work on a variety of topics. We work on access to capital, of course, but we work all the way from healthcare to retirement to taxes. I try to stay out of taxes because nobody wants to hear me talk about taxes. So just talking about access to capital, Maggie talked about a lot of different resources for you to go to. These are just some important questions to think about before you go. So before you go to the bank, before you go to the CDFI, before you go to an online lender, or before you do crowdfunding, you want to make sure that you have these questions. Maggie provided some really good resources for business plans. Most of these questions are going to be in there or be answered. So the more prepared you are for anything as it goes through the business world, is the more likely you are to be approved. So, and based on how you answer these questions, they're also going to determine where you go. How quickly you need the money may determine if you go to an SBA source and do your 7A or 8A program, or if you go to a micro lender, or if you need to do, quick cash if you have a large piece of machinery breakdown that needs to be replaced, or a vehicle that you have to have in order to do your business. You may need a quicker loan, and maybe the SBA isn't there for it going to work at that moment. So just having these questions on hand is really going to help you determine to go to the right place so that you're not getting turned down. Because I think that's where I hear a lot of business owners getting discouraged is they say we went to all these different places and we weren't able to get our loan. Maybe they were asking for $25,000 and banks don't want to lend to you. They consider that a microloan. They like to do 50 or above, or even 100 or above. So having these questions answered and working with your SBTDCs or your SBDCs or your Women's Business Development Center or your veterans, your VBOCs, they will help you determine where the best place for you to go is once you've answered these questions. And then you really need to know about your 5 C's of credit, and so I wanted to throw this in here. This is sort of what lenders base their decisions on. Now, this isn't the only thing, but it is really important to have these in the back of your mind when you're looking at applying for funding of any form. So obviously we're talking about credit history, so that's your character. Do you have any overdue 30 or 60 or 90-day overdue items in your credit report? Do you have that cash flow? So Maggie talked a lot about this on how you need to make sure that you have the revenue coming in. You need to be able to portray that to the lender. They need to see your what your income is, what your output is each month, what is your current debt, and are you going to be able to take on this additional loan? And then she talked about that personal bootstrapping, how much have you invested. They really do want to see that. I cannot stress that enough. A lot of places are looking for that collateral or that capital that you've provided as that 20 to 25%. And then that market analysis that Maggie talked about is really important to lenders. And we don't often think about that when we go to the bank. We know we have a good idea. We know we need the money, and they should give it to us. Bottom line is, if you have not done your market analysis and your idea, maybe you have a lot of competitors, or the market is in a downswing. So if you're in construction and you're wanting to buy new equipment, they may be looking about if you're actually going to be able to repay that loan if there aren't houses being built. So those conditions as outside factors, know those before you go in, and that will help you really determine your credit worthiness as determined by a lender. As you can see down there, we have a partner, nav.com, that actually has a lot of resources on credit as well. I wanted to hit on grants just very quickly. I don't want to pretend that there are a ton of grants out there and that they're easy to get. There are more for women-owned businesses, though, than there are for just the average business owner. Women and minorities do have some business grants, small business grants that are out there. So these are just a couple of ideas. Maggie mentioned the Balsa Foundation. We actually had a couple of small business owners that we worked with this last year that received the Balsa Foundation grant. and it was a great boon to their business. Their small grants, I think it was $5,000 or $10,000, I can't remember, but they were very, very excited about it. Those are few and far between, but they are there. And so do your research. If you're looking for a grant opportunity, you can talk to your SBDCs or your VetBiz, VBOCs, and find out if there are any specific for veterans as well, because I have seen a lot of those available. And then equity financing, I just want to hit on the fact that there are quite a few equity financing firms that are specifically allocated for females. Historically, venture capital has really been relegated to male-dominated firms. And you can see the stat there in that first bullet, just a really very large discrepancy on where that funding is going. And so there has been a lot of women entrepreneurs and CEOs that are getting together and saying, hey, we want to fund women-owned firms. That is our goal, and they will only allow businesses that are 51% or more women-owned to apply for their funding. So these are just a few of them down there at the bottom, those angel investors and some of the VC firms that you can look into. Just a word of caution, most of these are looking for high growth return. So if your business is not going to turn around and be able to pay back that capital and give them a good investment in a fairly short time frame, then you really need to know that that's probably not the option for you. If you potentially can, though, then definitely do look into that and see what their guidelines are and see if you fit their criteria. So we have some lending resources on a website called Venturize. This is something that Small Business Majority actually is coordinating. And these are just some of those online resources that are really nice to find. It's in addition to some of the resources Maggie already talked to you about, like SCORE or Small Business Administration, the libraries. These are really dedicated specifically to access to capital, and it's about getting you loan ready. This is something that you can sit down with your SBDC business counselor. You can sit down with VBOC and look through this together and utilize these resources. Do the APR calculator, do your loan comparison chart, and just figure out where you need to be. There's also a locator map. If you see that dot right there in the middle, let's see here. Let's see right there, I believe. Oh, no, wait, there's one right over here. There's a VetBiz right here and right here that's actually on our locator map. This is an old map, actually, an old picture. We have added quite a few of our resources here in Missouri, and we're currently building that out even further. So this locator map actually highlights groups that offer free or low-cost assistance in loan paperwork, your business plans, getting financially ready. So you can go in, put your zip code in, and find somewhere close to you. We're building this out, and one of the functionalities that we're looking at right now is, if you don't have a arrow right next to you, as Maggie mentioned, they cover 4 states, and we can't put that, their dot on all 4 states because we're putting it in their physical location. But we're working on putting that in there to where it actually says where all the locations are covered. And then just a couple of other tools that are on Venturizer, business strategy, financial planning tools. This is very similar to some of the other things that you're going to be able to find on those resources. We're really building this out, and we want this to be functional for you. So just let us know if you have additional items that you think should be on there. We'd be happy to do that. Okay, so let's talk for just a minute about business credit, because I think that one of the things that I have heard over and over again in the time that I work with business owners is the recognition is not there that business credit and personal credit are both very different but completely intertwined. And so a lot of people don't recognize how to build your business credit and how much their personal credit comes into play as well. So let's talk about this. So your business, once you've LLC'd or incorporated or set up your sole proprietorship, it's going to actually develop a credit score on its own under the business name, just like you have your personal credit score. So Most people don't know their business credit score, and most people don't know how to find it. So if you're sitting in that same boat, do not feel bad because you're not alone. Most people, though, most of the business owners who understand their business credit scores are more likely to get approved for a small business loan. So most lenders that you go to are going to look at your business credit score. Also, if you are getting insurance rates, so for your general liability or workers' compensation, those insurance companies will also look at your business credit score. Maggie mentioned government contracts. They are definitely going to be looking at your business credit score alongside with your personal. And then a lot of suppliers and vendors, when they're offering trade credit, potentially are going to look at your business credit as well as your personal. So many of the same credit agencies that do your personal credit do business credit, but some of them are different. So Dun & Bradstreet is one that I really want to highlight. You have to go in, you register, you get what's called a DUNS number, D-U-N-S. And this allows you to really build your credit score for your business. It pulls from Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, but lenders can actually report out directly to Dun & Bradstreet as well. So Justine Peterson, for example, is a lender. They've been doing microloans for 30 years. They just recently actually started reporting out to Dun & Bradstreet. So what I've learned is that lenders, when you receive a loan, even if it's under your business name, they're always putting your name and your Social Security number alongside the business. And so as you're growing, those loans are rolling onto your personal credit until you get larger as well and really develop a good business credit. And so what they're doing is they report all of that to the three main credit unions, credit scores, or credit agencies. They are not required to report it to Dun & Bradstreet. So when you're looking to find a lender, you should always ask if they do report to Dun & Bradstreet so that it can positively impact your business credit scores, where eventually it doesn't have to go on your personal. And if it doesn't, if you're looking at maybe multiple credit sources, then go with the one that does, as long as it meets your other criteria, your collateral requirements, your repayment requirements, and all that kind of thing. But make sure you go out and check out all three of these sites, research your business, see what's there, see what you need to build. So why is your business credit score important? Number one, lower interest rates. We all love lower interest rates on loans, and that is definitely something that we want to secure as a business owner because every dollar counts, right? Additionally, it's going to reduce your need to prepay. So my husband and I own a landscaping lawn care company. In order for us to get credit at merchants and reduce our ability or our need to pay every day for maybe gas or for landscaping materials, a vendor can look at our business credit, see that we are worthy of repayment, and that they will allow us to basically take those materials on loan and then pay back after the job has been completed and payment has been received by the customer. Without having a good business credit, though, they're not going to allow you to do that. You've developed that over time with business relationships, but also you get a lot of those cards, that say this is directly for your business. Okay, so women are definitely, as we know, a driving force in small business in our nation, and it's growing every day. And what we really need to make sure is that you have the ability to access credit for your business. Most of us are more likely to operate a home-based business, and we're likely to not have as much revenue coming in as men. There's definitely a gender gap even within the small business community. A lot of times because of the field that we choose to work in, or because of just a gender gap. But you were looking at, an average credit score is 689, and the average business credit score for a business owned by a woman was 34. So both of those, according to funders, if you look at funders right now, they want to see a credit score largely over 700 on the personal side, and then I believe it's over 50 on the business side. So the difference between personal and business credit, there are different bureaus, as I mentioned. There are different scores. They grade you in business credit. They actually will give you like an A to an F, sort of like they did in school. So you can have an A+, you can have a B+, you can have a C+, regular C, D. But the biggest difference is there's no Fair Credit Reporting Act. So like I mentioned, they do not have to report that to your business credit. So for example, we had a Staples card for our business that never showed up on our business credit. It just shows up on our personal credit. If, that organization or that company decides to report it, they can, but otherwise they're not required to. The other thing that's really important, and this is hugely important, is that you need to know that business reports are more prone to errors than personal reports. Part of that is because of the no regulatory oversight on it. A lot of it is also because people aren't aware that they need to monitor that just like they do their personal credit. So if you regularly check your personal credit, which I hope you do, make it a habit to also regularly check your business credit, maybe quarterly, just like you would, with Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. They say get one per quarter. Every time you pull one of those credit reports for your individual credit, go look on your business credit as well and make sure that there are no errors impacting your obtaining business credit. And then payments count differently. You saw the difference in those scores on the previous slide. Everything has a different number, basically, in business. It's just not reported the same. So it's really important to make sure that if you have anything that actually is being reported to Dun & Bradstreet or for your business credit, that you are monitoring it very closely. You're making those payments because it can make a big hit on your business credit if you're not. So here's how your payment history looks different than if it's on your personal credit. So this is the history of how many of your payments on this account were made within terms and how many were not. This is not like a current thing too. It keeps you in line for 90 plus days. And if you are not current, if you have one account, as you can see, that's even 1 day in arrears, so it's over that 30-day past due, you get 0% at that point. So it's all or nothing on the business side. If you're on your personal credit side, you definitely lose points for being past due on any of your accounts, but it's going to hit you a lot harder on the business side. So you really want to make sure you stay current with all of your business loans, anything that's being reported out to your business credit. So they have the different scores, different scales. So these are sort of just an example between Experian, Dun & Bradstreet, and FICO. So FICO is another one that's a really, really good thing to look at. A lot of lenders and creditors will go look at your FICO score. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that one along with your Dun & Bradstreet. But as you can see, things look different on those. So they're getting scored differently. So when you're looking, as you get more experience in this, make sure you're checking multiple places to make sure that everything is accurate. As I mentioned, even when you look at your 3 personal credit scores, they may be 10 to 15 points different than each other because things are reported differently. It's even more of a of a wide disparity when it comes to your business credit. So really monitor that. In addition to the fact that errors could be on one and not on the other, you really want to keep an eye on those different resources. So this is just an example of what it would look like on the Experian IntelliScore for the Boogie House Cafe, which hopefully that's none of yours because you're at medium to high risk. So if you only have 17 out of 100 points on this, you're obviously not going to be getting a loan. It says this is what the lender looks at. You know, they have 16%, only 16% of other businesses have a higher likelihood of severe delinquency. So they are way below the national average. See down there, you actually get the national score average too. So this is a really good one for you to look at that they're going to be looking at as well. It's got your payment trends. It's got your how long you've been in business, score factors, whether it be late payments or overutilization, cash flow. This is an example of a Dun & Bradstreet Paydex. So the Zwick Construction Company, you can see the difference. Maybe they have a 15 in Experian IntelliScore, but in Dun & Bradstreet they have a 64, which puts them in the moderate range. Experian, they are in the high risk. And then on the FICO score, they're actually in the positive range, so they're in the green. So they're in 3 different categories on those 3 different scales, which is why it's really important to make sure that maybe in the Experian one there's not something that should have came off or was reported incorrectly that's dinging them, and they actually should be closer up to the scale that you're seeing on the D&B and the FICO. Here's an example of FICO for the Zwick Construction Company again, why they're good. So you can see there, based on your FICO score, you may qualify for an SBA loan. This is another really cool thing about FICO is they'll actually refer you to certain places as well. And it's specifically they're going to coordinate mostly with the government resources. So they're not going to be necessarily saying, hey, you should go out and apply for an online funding. They're going to be really trying to get you into the funding that's going to be better for you. So these are the 3 ways that business credit scores are determined. This is what those 3 main places that we're talking about, FICO, D&B, and then the Experian, they're looking at your payment history. So this is the number of times you became delinquent. So maybe you're all caught up, everything is current, but over the past year you've been delinquent 5 times. That actually can impact your credit score. That's why it's so important to make sure you stay on top of those business payments. And then the percentage of accounts that are delinquent, and then your overall trade balance. And then frequency, obviously if you are having accounts sent to collections and you're getting liens and judgments against you, that's going to impact your credit score. So once again, that just goes back to making sure that those business bills are available. And then monetary is how much of your available credit is in use. So you want to, a good rule of thumb is 30% credit utilization. Keep it under 30% overall. So maybe you have one that's maxed out. Your Staples card, if you're like me, you really love office supplies and you can't get enough of them. It's a bad habit. You have a really high Staples card balance. All the rest of them are good. They're down 20% or 15% of credit utilization. But that one that's up at 95% is really going to bring you up and over. So you want to make sure to keep your overall average below 30%. So how to start building your business credit? Number 1, if you have not already established your business. If you have established your business, congrats. And then number 2, start establishing and maintaining good credit relationships with suppliers and vendors. So if you have regular suppliers or vendors that you utilize, making sure that you're paying on time, that you're not in arrears, there's no past due bills. If you're able to get a credit card with them and make a payment at the end of the month, make sure you're making that payment, keeping your utilization below 30%. If you do not already have an EIN number, You would need to do so for your business. If you need assistance with that, any of the resources that Maggie provided earlier are able to help you do any of this kind of stuff. And then open a business credit card. Get it in your business name. Ask, though, if they report to business credit. And that's the key. Just because you have a credit card that has the business name on it does not mean they're reporting to one of those 4 places. And then number 5, I think I've hit this once or twice, pay on time all the time. Never, never, never try to be late. And then transition your commercial expenses away from personal finances. Maggie talked about this as well. Cannot stress it enough. Keep them separate to make sure you can show the health of your business is not reliant on your personal finances. How to maintain that good business credit, monitor regularly, and monitor all of them regularly. Monitor your business and your personal, switch back and forth between all the different ones and keep an eye on them. Make sure you're keeping up to date on your balance sheet, your income statement, your cash flow. If at any point something happens to your business and you need your credit, you need to know exactly what you have right then. And trust me, you don't want to wait until the end of the year to do your balance sheet. If you go to nav.com, I've actually utilized this for the business, for our landscaping business, and it's a really good resource. They actually keep an eye not on my personal credit, but on my business credit. So if anyone has looked, it acts a lot like Credit Karma or Sesame, any of those personal credit things, but it actually works for your business. So it keeps an eye on my business credit and lets me know when there's been a new hit or if my credit score has gone up, or hopefully not if my credit score has gone down. It is free. So it's a really good resource to utilize. They also have a lot of good education stuff that they'll send you. And then, this is just the same thing you would do in your personal life. Do it in your business life. Make your payments on time, 30% debt-to-income ratio. Use your business credit wisely, and keep that profile good. Now then, I'm going to fly through the end of this. I wanted to talk a little bit about mentoring and just point out a couple of things. Look at that, I forgot to put name on there. It's just name today and month. So mentorship, and Maggie talked about a couple of different resources for mentoring that are specific to veterans. And so if you are looking for a mentor, or even you want to be a mentor, maybe you're further along in your stage, there are a lot of opportunities for you on both sides. But if you are willing, you're ready to give back, you know that you can stand by a business and help them grow, and then you can always utilize, small business owners can always utilize a mentor to help bounce ideas. Sometimes we get really great ideas, but then when you bounce it off of somebody else, it doesn't sound as good. Or they'll help point out flaws, or they'll help support you and say, yes, it's absolutely a great idea. But it helps guide us as we're developing that, those business plans and those ideas. So one of the things that I hear locally is there's a lack of mentors. I am a part of the SCORE Mentor Network. I'm one of the ones, I sit on the Southwest Missouri SCORE chapter and help work with them. But we have very few mentors that are women. We only have 2 or 3 mentors that are women. And so as a woman business owner that's trying to start out, a lot of times they want to have that personal female touch. Sometimes our ideas are just different, and it helps to have someone who can understand you. And so we really don't have a lot of role models here. I know there's been a lot of talk about getting different mentor networks set up and trying to really increase the number of mentors available for women. But that's something, especially when you're looking in STEM fields, it's really just not as prominent or prevalent. These are just some of the, the ways that mentors can help you. just a variety of ways, not even just being a sounding board, but a lot of them, as Maggie mentioned, have that experience already, and they've been down that road. I joke that I'm going to make a presentation that's called Things I Wished I'd Known Then that I think I know now, but I probably won't know until the next 10 years or longer. And that's going to be the full title. But having somebody who's already been there, done that, is sometimes very, very nice. If they've already made that mistake, maybe you don't have to. So the first place to look for mentor, of course, is your personal network, be that church, be that a Rotary group or another volunteer organization, someone within your industry, or just a friend or a family member who has ran a business. It's always okay just to talk to somebody that knows how to answer your questions a little bit more. We've talked about SCORE a lot. SCORE is a nationwide organization comprised of volunteers. It's really taken a change now to where they're trying to get in a lot more of people who are actually in business right now. So maybe they own their own marketing firm or they own an accounting firm. It's been a great boon to the business owners that they're working with because they have current knowledge of the trends maybe in marketing or the tax procedure that's going on at that time. So it's been a really great way to help businesses. Maggie talked about the Women's Business Centers and Small Business Development Centers. I cannot stress enough, if you are near one of them, contact them. A lot of them work remotely, just like Maggie said. Technology has changed the way people do things. So make sure you find the one that would service your area. If you're in a rural county, find out if they will come to you. And definitely utilize their free resources or low cost. These are some additional resources that are online. The Venturize.org there is the one that I showed you earlier with the locator map where you can actually find some assistance providers in your area. Here in Missouri, there's also what's called Mo SourceLink, M-O SourceLink, Missouri SourceLink, and then there's a KC SourceLink. And then there are SourceLinks nationally that do the same thing and provide those resources and the TA. Businessadvising.org and MicroMentors is a great option. And then, your local networking group, local business accelerators, chambers. And this is really important, and I just want to hit this and then we're going to be done. How to make the most of your mentor is find somebody who can help you develop a skill you don't currently have. As business owners, just as Maggie said, we're good at our business, but, we do our trade, we do our craft, we do our service, but the business part is maybe where we're lacking. Find somebody who can fill those gaps for you. And if you need more than one mentor, get more than one mentor. Within the SCORE network, often they will refer people to different mentors depending on what services they need. So if they need accounting, then they'll go to Cindy. If they need consulting and HR management, they'll send them to Tim. So don't be afraid to have more than one mentor to meet your different needs. Keep an open mind. A lot of times it's hard to hear the words no, or that's not a good idea, but know that they're there with your best interest in mind and that they may have information that you don't. And then keep your expectations, your goals clear. Set those with your mentor. Know what you expect. Make sure they know what you expect. And make sure you know what they can provide. Get all that set out, get it lined out, make sure you guys are a good match personality-wise, and make sure that you're respecting each other's time. It's a mentor is a great way to help guide you through your business. And as Maggie mentioned, you can reach out to either of us at any point in time and talk to us. Find out how to connect to any of these resources that we discussed. If you have additional questions on any of the information covered, we hope you'll reach out to us. Maggie, do you have anything you want to add here at the end?
Mary, actually, I'm really great you covered the business credit score because that's a topic I don't hear talked about a lot, so I think that was a great add. Again, for everyone, Mary and I are both here. We've both got a lot of resources available to us, a lot of experience, and we look forward to a chance to help you grow your business.
I agree. You guys give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email. My information's there, and I'll be sending out the slide deck to you afterwards, and we hope to hear from you all soon. Enjoy this beautiful day. Have a good one, guys. We're going to stop the meeting now.